Yo, what's good, guys? Another video here. Today we got David Cross, who's a guy who I'm about 90% sure I've never seen in my life, with Why Americans Suck at Everything. Obviously, I'm American. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. If he brings some good points, I'm gonna say so. If he's full of shit, in my opinion, I'ma say so, right? So, yeah, either way, let's get to it. Subscribe. We somehow, by the grace of God, hit 100K before the end of the year. I will go skydiving. Let's get it. Rocco, shut up.
America is the greatest country on earth.
Damn
the
right,
strongest, the richest, the most powerful country on earth. As an American, I'm sure you've heard that roughly 135 times a year.
No, I think it's closer to like 100 and something thousand times a year. We hear that a lot.
235 if you go to public school. 335 if you go to a Christian academy. We're told that Americans have the best lives of any people in the world. That we have low taxes, small government, and the highest living standards on earth. And most inaccurately, that we're the freest.
That is facts. And also, I find this interesting that this is from an American. This makes me see this in a whole different perspective, because all the other ones you guys have wanted me to watch were from, like, outside countries talking about why America sucks, which, I gotta take everything they say with a grain of salt because, they don't live here. But this is coming from a guy who lives here, so now I'm actually a lot more intrigued on what he has to say now. This should be interesting. And, yeah, so far, yes, everything he said is true. Like, we are told that a lot.
Well, it is partly true. America is the richest country, not just in the world, but in the history of the world. It's really hard to comprehend just how rich we are. We have 18 million people who are millionaires.
Wow.
American households own about $100 trillion in wealth, an almost unthinkable amount of money.
That's insane.
Okay, so America is the richest country ever.
Okay.
But there's a curious paradox. Most Americans actually have a much worse standard of living than people who live in poorer countries like Germany or Finland or Britain. But how can that be? That shouldn't make any sense. Well, here's the shitty deal. Americans get significantly worse services because our tax dollars don't fund them. So of course our services are worse, and thus we enjoy less happy lives than people who live in the aforementioned countries. Not that difficult a concept to conceive, really. You get what you pay for, said the cartoon dog to the other cartoon dog. And while you might think the reason American tax dollars don't fund as many services is because we pay lower taxes than other countries, that's not even true. When you add federal, state, local, and sales taxes and include other costs and services that our taxes don't cover but other countries' taxes do, like our uniquely high health insurance premiums, you'll find that Americans actually give away more of their wages than most of the developed world. For example, in Canada, for a married worker with 2 kids, all of the previously mentioned costs combined, from taxes to health insurance premiums, make up only 11% of the average wage. In the UK, it's just about 26%. Meanwhile, once you tack on the cost of our outlandish health insurance premiums, you're spending a whopping 43% of your paycheck. That's more than France, Finland, Sweden, and Norway. In real reality, Americans keep much less of what we own than in other countries.
That's actually insane. I mean, I realized that, shit here was a little bit more outrageous with the healthcare and shit, but I didn't realize it was to that level. Hey, yo, any of y'all need a roommate? Like, shit, bro. Hey, yo. On a serious note, though, that's insane. Wow.
80% of your paycheck. That's more than France, Finland, Sweden, and Norway. In real reality, Americans keep much less of what we own than in other countries. In other countries, their government takes a bit more tax, but then gives that money back to their citizens in the form of healthcare or job support, or a general safety net for all vulnerable citizens, no matter how dusky they are. So what do Americans get for the money we pay in? Well, sure, we get a crumbling infrastructure, shameful homelessness, and millions of hungry, neglected children, but we also get some of the worst services in the developed world. Again, our healthcare. American healthcare is simultaneously the most expensive, the least efficient, and the least effective healthcare system in the developed world. Hey, the devil's trifecta. And in exchange for this expensive, the least efficient, and the least effective healthcare.
Now, I'm going to be completely honest. I knew about the most expensive, right? Because I know most of the world gets it for free, and yeah. I knew about that. But I honestly really thought, just me being real, and obviously I'm going to have to do my own research after this and learn, because, just watching from one video, I mean, you're just seeing one person's opinion. So after this, I'm going to go and I'm going to look this stuff up, because I actually want to know, right? But I actually did not realize that these two were the facts. I thought that we had at least a well-efficient and at the very least higher, if not the most effective system when we're paying. That's insane to me. Like, that is actually wild. Okay. If that's true, which I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt until I go and do my own research, that's insane.
Services in the developed world.
Okay.
Again, our healthcare. American healthcare is simultaneously the most expensive, the least efficient, and the least effective healthcare system in the developed world. Hey, the devil's trifecta. And in exchange for this extremely expensive, inefficient healthcare system, what do we get? Well, we get some of the worst health outcomes in the developed world. We have fewer hospital beds per capita than people in Turkey or Brunei. Americans have a lower life expectancy than people in Lebanon or Cuba. And in the Mississippi Delta and much of Appalachia, life expectancy is lower than in Bangladesh.
What?
In fact, in 2017, the United Nations sent a commissioner to West Virginia to document what he saw, and he described, quote, third world conditions of absolute poverty, unquote. We even have a higher infant mortality rate than people in Russia and Serbia. In every single metric, America does worse across the board.
That's fucking insane. If that's real, that's fucking insane. Hold up.
Infant mortality rate than people in Russia.
Okay. Just gonna quickly Google it. What is the infant mortality rate in Russia?
According to Macro Trends, the current infant mortality rate for Russia in 2022 is 4.997 deaths per 1,000.
What is the infant mortality rate in America?
5.6 deaths per 1,000 live births. According to CDC, in 2019, the infant mortality rate in the United States was 5.6 deaths per 1,000 live births.
And in Russia, it was like 4,000 something. I have the memory of a goldfish. What was it in Russia?
According to Macro
Yeah,
Trends.
4,000. Wow, that's insane. That is actually crazy. Okay, he's coming with facts. I mean, again, trust Google to an extent, but I'm gonna trust it because it's two sources now saying the same thing. That's crazy.
And he described,
Okay.
quote, third world conditions of absolute poverty, unquote. We even have a higher infant mortality rate than people in Russia and Serbia. In every single metric, America does worse across the board.
Wow.
So why is healthcare so expensive? Because it's so complicated. You have to look for in-network physicians, schedule an established care appointment, beg for coverage from your insurance company that couldn't care less about you, and that's if you're lucky enough to have good insurance. Compare that to Britain and all of those other evil, socialist-like countries where it's simple. Public hospitals provide free treatment to people who need it. That's it. I'll repeat that. Public hospitals provide free treatment to people who need it. And here's the best part. Even though Britain offers healthcare for free, their system is actually a lot cheaper to run than ours.
What?
Per capita healthcare spending in the US is almost 3 times what it is in Britain, and almost 5 times what Canadians spend. In fact, Americans spend the most per person of any country in the world for healthcare.
I was about to make a point, but he completely shut that down before I was about to say, well, of course, the UK is much smaller than Russia in population, so obviously we're going to be spending more. But he said the most per person, which is, wow, I'm honestly almost speechless here. Sorry, I'm not like laughing and giggling and, normally when I make videos, it's funny shit, but this is actually, I was expecting this to be some British person cracking jokes at America, but nah, this is serious.
Times what it is in
Like,
Britain,
this is
and almost
legit.
5 times what Canadians spend. In fact, Americans spend the most per person of any country in the world for healthcare. But the free market is more efficient, you screech. But in America, private systems often aren't efficient at all. Private drug companies have an incentive to charge whatever they can get away with for pharmaceuticals. In Canada, a carton of insulin costs about $20. In the US, it costs $300.
Whoa.
And with private insurance companies footing the bill, hospitals have an incentive to get as much money out of patients as possible too. In 2015, the average cost of an MRI
That's insane how literally just over a border something can go from $20 to $300. That's actually insane. And they get away with it because like they gotta pay these prices. Like, like for insulin, if you're a diabetic person, you need that shit. Like, you can't really be like, nah, I don't want, like, it's either pay it or, bro, that's fucked.
And with private insurance companies footing the bill, hospitals have an incentive to get as much money out of patients as possible too. In 2015, the average cost of an MRI scan in the US was $1,119. But it was only $215 in Australia. Spain, about $181. And our healthcare system is so inefficient that we spend over a third of our cost on administration. The United States spends significantly more on administration than we spend on preventative or long-term healthcare. That's just not smart. Okay, we get it. We all know that American healthcare is so much more expensive.
I knew, I'm gonna be real, I knew that it wasn't the best, right? I expected it, again, to be decent, right? Like, I didn't think it was awful, but I knew there was, things that could be improved on. But I didn't know it was, like, quite literally the worst of, like, that's insane. At least we're better than North Korea, I guess, right? Probably. What the fuck? That's insane.
Or long-term healthcare. That's just not smart. Okay, we get it. We all know that American healthcare is so much more expensive, you say, but that's the cost of having the freest freedom in God's favorite country. Well, guess what? Medical procedures that are totally free in Britain, like giving birth, cost tens of thousands of dollars in the United States. I mean, you want to talk about the cost of freedom. Sadly, because of these high costs, Americans often avoid.
So you're telling me you gotta spend tens of thousands to just give birth in a hospital? What the actual fuck? That's bullshit. That is straight bull. If that is pulling out the phone again, because you know what? How much does it cost to give birth in America?
According to The Cut, depending on where you live, average medical bills with insurance can range from about $4,500 to $11,200 for a vaginal delivery. For C-sections, it's $5,100 to $15,000.
What? That is actually... I'm just gonna trust that it's free in America, but that's fucked.
Like giving birth costs tens of thousands of dollars in the United States. I mean, you want to talk about the cost of freedom. Sadly, because of these high costs, Americans often avoid going to the doctor, something almost half the population say they do.
I do that.
With shoddy or not.
I will admit right now, I don't go to hospitals. But I'm gonna be honest, for me personally, it's not even about the cost. I just don't like hospital. Like, I get freaked out in hospitals. But the cost definitely has I don't know. Because I'm trying to think, even if it was free, I wouldn't be the type to want to go to hospitals or doctors or anything like that. I just don't, I don't know. I get freaked out. It's stupid, but yeah. So.
You want to talk about the cost of freedom. Sadly, because of these high costs,
But that is
Americans
something
often
I
avoid
actually
going
do.
to the doctor, something almost half the population say they do. With shoddy or non-existent health insurance, Americans will wait until their conditions force them into the emergency room where treatment is far more expensive.
Yep.
Again, not a smart system. Quite often, they end up putting off medical visits and dying. Susan Finley, a 53-year-old Walmart employee in Colorado, got pneumonia and took one day off of work beyond what Walmart's policy allows. So of course, Walmart's gonna Walmart, which they did by firing her. Without her job, she lost her nominal health care coverage, she struggled to find new work, and after avoiding a visit to the doctor for flu-like symptoms, she was found dead in her apartment.
Wow, that's awful.
When Americans do manage to get treated, they frequently can't afford it. Simple.
That's actually fucked. That is, yo, what? Hold up, rewind that.
Old Walmart employee. Again, not a smart system.
That's fucked.
Quite often, they end up putting off medical visits and dying. Susan Finley, a 53-year-old.
R.I.P. Susan Finley, bro. That's fucked. I ain't even gonna Google her, because literally everything I've Googled so far has just come up to be true. Oh, fuck, I didn't mean to hit that. That probably fucked with my mic. Sorry. But, yeah. Bro, that's... Wow.
Old Walmart employee in Colorado got pneumonia and took one day off of work beyond what Walmart's policy allows. So of course, Walmart's gonna Walmart, which they did by firing her. Without her job, she lost her nominal health care coverage, she struggled to find new work, and after avoiding a visit to the doctor for flu-like symptoms, she was found dead in her apartment. When Americans do manage to get treated, they frequently can't afford it. Simple, life-saving treatments can cost tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and if they don't have really good insurance, they're forced to take on medical debt. Tens of millions of Americans owe medical debt, often into the tens of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, in a country like Britain or Norway, medical debt is almost unheard of. But hey, that's why GoFundMe is such a critical component of American healthcare. 1 in 3 GoFundMe campaigns is now for medical bills. I'll repeat that. 1 in 3 GoFundMe campaigns is now for medical bills. America is such a strong, powerful, rich, and great country that its citizens have to beg strangers on the internet for money so they can get life-saving treatments that are free in the rest of the developed world.
It's crazy because you see that all the time. You see it everywhere. Stupid truck passing my house, but like, yeah, it's fucking, it's sad as shit. Like, you literally, I could go on GoFundMe, I could download it right now, and I'd see that shit so quick. Yeah, it's fucked. It really is sad.
And great country that its citizens have to beg strangers on the internet for money so they can get life-saving treatments that are free in the rest of the developed world. But hey, that's just healthcare. Americans get terrible deals wherever you look. Let's take work, for example. Americans work longer hours than people in any other rich country in the world, and that's not because they enjoy sleep deprivation and not seeing their families for days at a time. It's because they don't want to starve, or freeze, or die. See, America has the least generous job support programs, the least generous family benefits, and the least generous unemployment benefits of any wealthy country. It's one of the only countries on Earth that doesn't guarantee paid time off for vacations.
Do you guys want to talk about, because this is something I can actually add to. I'm not going to say any names or anything like that, but I know a person who, on average, makes roughly a little over $2,000 a week, right? So they went and they had to find a new job or go on unemployment. Guess what they got? They got $600 a quarter. They go from making $2,000 a week to $600 a quarter. That is, yeah, that's fucked too.
Family benefits and the least generous unemployment benefits of any wealthy country.
Also, don't take those numbers as exact, because I'm going just strictly based off my shitty memory of talking to somebody, and I'm not, even if those numbers I knew exactly, I wouldn't be giving anybody's exact numbers, but it's roundabout that, give or take a little bit, but it's roundabout that.
It's one of the only countries on Earth that doesn't guarantee paid time off for vacations. It doesn't even help provide paid time off for parents who just had a child. And it's not coincidental that we're also one of the most hostile countries to workers' rights. America has one of the lowest unionization rates in the entire world. Maybe this deprivation, our refusal to give people the means to lead a good, dignified life commensurate with how rich our country is, can explain a bit of what we've seen in the United States over the last few decades. Fraying communities, rising rates of depression and suicide, huge numbers of deaths from drug overdoses. These so-called deaths of despair, suicide, drug overdoses, alcoholic liver disease, they're one big reason why American life expectancy has actually started to decline over the last few years. And with such poor conditions, it's not a surprise that poverty is so rampant in the United States. America devotes a smaller percentage of spending on social welfare than any other industrialized economy because, say it with me, socialism is evil. It's evil. Go to Denmark and try telling those happy, healthy families enjoying their paid vacation that their system of government is evil. Guess what? I guarantee they'll know you're an American. But I digress. America also has the highest rate of child poverty of any developed country, and the highest percentage of workers earning significantly less than the national median income. That seems pretty evil to me.
That is insane that it has the highest. Like, in my mind, I'd think that, places like China or like North Korea and places like that have the highest, or like India and shit. Like, it's crazy to hear that it's America. Like, that's actually insane. I'm sorry this isn't exactly the most entertaining video like I normally try to do, but what the fuck? That's, if everything is true, which a very small amount of the things, I've done a tiny little bit of research, which I'm gonna rewatch this a lot and do way more research just to see, but like, that is insane to me. Wow.
Rate of child poverty of any developed country, and the highest percentage of workers earning significantly less than the national median income. That seems pretty evil to me, especially since such a tiny fraction take as much of your money for themselves and their families as you will let them. All the while, both parties smile and shake hands.
That's very true.
Across every single metric, no people accept a worse deal than Americans today. High taxes, high cost of living for next to nothing in return from the government. The most expensive healthcare system for the worst health outcomes. More money taken from workers for the highest rate of child poverty. We are the richest country in the history of the world, but we have fewer miles of high-speed rail than Uzbekistan. We are the greatest country in the world, yet we have the most people in prison of any country, and the highest incarceration rate as well, and a higher rate of police killings than in Angola and Sudan. Wow. America is bad at everything because instead of choosing to make life better for people through a public healthcare system or more generous childcare policies or better public transit or programs that allow people to spend more time with their families, American law is designed and crafted to protect a class of parasitical middleman industries. Instead of using a proportionally tiny piece of the massive amount of the wealth in this country to make people's lives healthier and happier, most of our elected leaders are, and have been for generations, engaged in a massive project of looting, gently and lovingly guiding as much money as possible from working people into the pockets of the well-connected and the ultra-rich.
That's facts.
Think about that as we start hearing about the inevitable rise in homelessness, poverty, starvation, and sickness that will occur during these coming months and years in the greatest, strongest, richest, most powerful country on the face of the earth.
And it is crazy too, because like, you gotta think, even the trust in the government is falling. Like, COVID's a prime example, right? Like, you hear all these people who, they're scared to get the COVID shot. Why? Because the government's constantly shown that they don't really give a shit. So it's like, why would you trust them? That's why I always think it's so stupid where, people are fighting with each other all the fucking time, where it's like, we distract each other. Literally, we distract each other from, what's really going on. And this shit just really opened my eyes, because now I'm thinking about it. It's like, really, look at it. Bro, the fucking government must love the new age soft people, because they're too busy arguing with one another, while the government's like, haha, fuckers, thanks for your money, bitches. I'm going to get me a new yacht. Fuck you guys. Like, it's actually fucked. It's sad. Like, when you really start to think about it, it's really fucking sad.
I'm David Cross for the Gravel Institute.
Oh, David Cross. Shout out to David Cross, man. I'm genuinely at a loss for words right now. What the fuck? First thing I want to say is I'm sorry this wasn't the most entertaining video I've ever watched. The person who told me to watch this, though, genuinely thank you, because this is insane. Let me know if you guys like the more, like, serious videos, even though that's not really what I was here for. I'm more about, laughing with people and having fun, but hey, man, if you guys enjoyed this and there's more stuff like this you'd like me to watch, let me know in the comments below. That's insane. I hope you guys have a great day. If you made it to the end, comment, I don't know, literally comment whatever. Comment something. I don't fucking know. Comment more facts like this that people might not know, actually. If you know shit, put it in these comments down below. I will, if I see anything that's crazy and people should know, I will pin your comment personally, at least for a period of time till I see something else. Yeah, I'm out. Thank you all. I'm at a loss for words. Bye.